Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us, everybody. We're just talking about stuff that made you, when you thought your friends were rich when you were kids.
Did they have a big giant satellite dish in their backyard?
Jeez, Scotty G getting an early call out, huh? No.
Hey, you live in rural areas. You had to have that big dish if you want to watch stuff.
Yeah. There's always like the big screen TV that was, I don't know, 21 inches deep.
Uh-huh.
Most of the front of it wasn't actually the screen. It was
for you young kids out there, there was no such thing as flat panel TVs back in the day. But we had big screen TVs.
In fact, you actually didn't want it flat. You wanted it as big as possible.
Right.
The entire thing. Yeah. Not even the screen.
Yeah.
Like, and I had a friend growing up that so he had the double whammy of rich kid. All right. He had the giant big screen TV. Like huge. And it was the one that had the projected red, blue, and green.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
like,
I do.
And it was like, oh. Like, by the way, those would be considered the worst. Like, they were not bright at all. They had, like, no refresh rate. All right? We get so spoiled. You could buy.
But you had to sit right in front of it, too.
You had to sit right in front of it. If you're at an angle, you're out. It was like a privacy screen without wanting to be.
Right.
And so that friend had a massive, quote unquote big screen TV that I just imagined in my head them hauling it out of there the day that they were embarrassed enough to go, well, this is stupid. Right?
How are you getting that out your front door?
And then he had the double whammy was he had a laser disc player.
Of course. Well, that was another luxury. Right, you were rich if you had laser disc.
He had a laser disc, and the only thing that he had on laser disc was the U2 live concert Rattle and Hum. That was the only thing we could watch. And then his dad ended up getting Jaws. So then we have Jaws on Laserdisc. I'm like, can we? Yes. Kip, absolutely. Here's the thing, though. We were like, hey, you think your dad will let us watch Jaws at your house this weekend? So then you get to the rich kid's house. What do they have? Little Debbie snacks in the pantry. Their parents let them drink soda. See, those are the kids. And again, as a chubby kid, I would get invited to those houses, and that's where I made hay. You know what I mean? Hey, I noticed you have a box of Star Crunches in there. Can I have every one of them out of the box? That'd be great. All right.
What are some other rich
people?
What are some other rich people
things?
Hot tub. We were talking about hot tub.
That's why, because hot tubs are a thing where you go,
somebody had
a
hot tub, they were like, you're rich.
No, 100%. 100%. Absolutely. Keep those rolling in. Keep reminding us. Whatever the thing was that you, in your mind, you thought your friend was rich because they had this thing.
Sega and Nintendo.
Oh, two systems.
Whoa,
two systems was
those kids, yeah.
Right. And when you had the Nintendo or the Atari, and then a kid rolled up and was like, oh, I'm playing F-Zero on my Super Nintendo. And you're like, what?
Yep.
The new console. Couldn't believe it. All right. We got tons to get through today. So we can keep those rolling in. Tell us what the rich kid indicator from the 1990s was.
What were those rich kid items when you were a kid that you felt you had to have, and now you laugh at it?
Yeah, and honestly, it's basically everything that Kevin had from Home Alone.
Yeah,
that was a rich family, right? They were like, you couldn't believe
the giant piano from Big,
right? Yes, the step-on piano from Big. Anything in the movie Richie Rich, like it was crazy.
Snapple stocked in your refrigerator.
Oh yeah, like actual brand name rollerblade. Like the rollerblades.
Trampolines, honestly. If you had a trampoline in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, you were rich.
The water beds, that was a
water beds. What happened to water beds?
They popped, and they were absolute garbage. All right? Oh, my goodness. Hey, our show is brought to you by G2G Bars. That's real luxury. You don't need to be rich to get the G2G bar. All right? So go check it out, g2gbar.com. You can also go to Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, and anywhere they sell fine protein bars like the G2G bar. They're going to have it there in the refrigerated section. Go give it a shot. Let's kick off the program as we always do. We got an awesome one today. Our weekly conversation with Connor Pay, BYU's center and offensive captain for the Cougs. He's going to weigh in on how that win on Saturday made that team feel, what the locker room vibe was like for them, on top of so many other things, getting ready for that trip down to SMU this week on a Friday game. All of that is going to be coming up next hour, so you don't want to miss that. Let's jump into the program, though, as we always do. It is The Cut right here at the top of the hour.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is What Made the Cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And, of course, as usual, our program also brought to you by Trajan Wealth this hour, TRAJANwealth.com. That's Trajan Wealth for all of your local trusted financial fiduciary needs. They are going to take care of you. What's going on here with the Hey, Jeremy, the rundown blitzed on me.
I had to resend it to you. I apologize.
Okay.
I realized I didn't update the date.
I didn't know what was going on here.
But Jeremiah found it.
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? Because
I'm ready to go.
It opened up for me over at the.
We got Utes to start the show. We're ready to go.
I know.
I apologize.
New AP polls out. Let's go.
I know. All right, so let's jump in. This Utah Utes program, of course. Now the AP poll did come out, and I was actually fascinated because when I watched this thing, I was fascinated to see what the changes that were going to be, the stuff that was going to go down, and this Utah team is getting respect, and I think that overall people fear the Utes, man, and they should, because now that you saw what Cam Rising can do, now the sky's the limit, right? I mean, The reality is that there's not a soul that is absolutely that follows this Utah program that is not hyped about this, because this is going to change everything. And now you're up to number 11 in the AP poll and the coaches poll, both of them. But I think more importantly, you're positioned in a really good spot because you know the teams in front of you eventually are going to start falling one by one. I just don't see on the calendar for the Utes, even that trip down to Oklahoma State in 3 weeks, I don't see that one even being one that is that disastrous of a trip. Sure, they're going to be the pitfalls, but I think that if Kyle Whittingham's going to get his guys ready for a first test, and that one's going to be the first test, and I know they take every opponent seriously, but this is a really, really key time because over the next 3 weeks, you're going to see the Utes creep into the single digits, JJ, on these AP and coaches polls, and it's a great spot to be in, and especially while your guy, Cam Rising, Brant Keithy, everybody else are back healthy.
Yeah, I look at Utah, and the SUU game was important for us to get to see those guys back on the field again, to be able to see Cam Rising out there running this offense again, to see Brant Keithy out there running routes again. Some of the other guys that were missing that were hurt and banged up last year. I mean, Van Fillinger was injured last year. He has 2 sacks in that game. So everybody that was back, it was positive. Mekhi Bernard didn't get the amount of touches that he probably wanted or that anybody expected, but neither did anybody else because there just wasn't that many plays to go around. But he looks good. Everything looks good.
Yeah.
And so that game gave everybody a feel for what this team looks like, what they're capable of. This week, Alex, we're going to learn a lot more about Utah. How good is this team? Because you're going to have a Baylor team that is desperate for a win, a coach that's fighting to keep his job, and a program that is looking for a shot to prove that they are better this year than what they showed last year. A program that won a Big 12 championship just 3 years ago. So this is a big battle for Utah up on the hill on Saturday. What I want to see Utah do to Baylor is just completely annihilate them. Because if they are who we think they are at home, I know it's not a night game, but they should absolutely manhandle Baylor if they are who we think they are. If they are a top 10 team, this shouldn't even be close because I don't think Baylor is in the same category as Utah is. If this is close and it looks, I don't know the word to use, a little janky, you know what I mean? Like it just, you know what I mean? Like you have those games where
I think janky was the word.
Like you're not executing, you have weird turnovers and just stuff like that, or it's too close in the fourth quarter. Then I have concerns going forward. And you're talking about that Oklahoma State game. I think that's what we all look forward to, not to overlook the Utah State Aggies up in Logan. The Utes are going to take games one game at a time, but we can look ahead and we can look forward, and that Oklahoma State game looms large. That's going to determine and set the table for their Big 12 schedule right out of the gate in a tough place to play in Stillwater. You go out there this week and you just absolutely wreck Baylor, then all of a sudden that's sending a message to the rest of the conference is like, we are good.
I was listening to Kyle's press conference kind of more at length, and one of the questions was asked like, hey, this is a weird game because it's a conference matchup, but it's not a conference matchup. Like, isn't it weird? Isn't that a weird game? And he was like, whatever. He's like, I would. And look, we know what Kyle's answer is to about how they prepare for teams. What's the answer?
Same as
the exact same way that they always do every game, because every game is important. Every opponent you're going to respect. Blah, blah, blah. I do think that is the case, though, with this Baylor game, because I know that Baylor is not the top of the Big 12, but why not be a lot better than they were last year?
They could be.
You know what Baylor has that some of these other teams that are trying to retool do not have? They get a good amount of these Texas players out of high school that don't end up going to Texas, that don't end up going to Oklahoma. It's not just like the retreads either. It's guys choosing to go to Baylor still. I mean, this is a product of Baylor getting good between the years 2010 and kind of now. I mean, they won a Big 12 championship 3 years ago. Was it 3 years or 2 years?
2021.
So it's not that far removed. And by the way, in 2021, people didn't think that they would be that good either. They knew that they were, on pace to. They've got a lot of talent, but people and top athletes in Texas choose Baylor sometimes over. Look, Baylor still wins the recruiting battle with SMU. Baylor wins the recruiting battle more often than not against TCU. Baylor wins the recruiting battle typically against Texas Tech and even Houston. So when you talk about carving out a place for yourself, Baylor has the guys. They have dudes. One of those dudes is not Dave Aranda. I just don't think he's a brilliant defensive mind. He's proven to be a wildly inconsistent coach at best right now for this team.
The program's been inconsistent since he's been there.
But guess what's going to happen? Bigger dudes, trench play that is like legit, right? Because Baylor has Big 12 guys. So from that perspective, I don't care what team it is or where they're played every week, they absolutely are going to get tested. The Utes are going to get tested. Make no mistake about it, they're going to be favored in this one, and they should be until further notice. But Baylor is not a, and this is why the Big 12 is interesting, right? Because the Big 12 is so good from top to bottom, but they're not great. We don't know if there's a great team in there yet. We assume Utah is. We think that Kansas State might be. Kansas, we even give a little bit of that respect to. But from top to bottom, that's what makes the conference a little bit scary too, because TCU could beat anybody 1 week to the next.
Or lose to anybody.
Or lose to – it's exactly right. It's exactly right. And that's actually what's been happening. That's why the conference last year was a bunch of teams who were 4-5 and 5-4. So is it going to be an easy piece to go through this Baylor team this week up on the Hill? No. But you'll be shocked what happens this year now that they have a quarterback and they're at home compared to with what we saw last year down in Waco. What a terrible game that Utah had last year, and they freaking won it anyway.
Still trying to get the sting out of my eyes after watching that game last year.
We rewatched it. That's how weird we are. Here's Andy Ludwig talking about the first, kind of his first thoughts on this team after week one and what he wants to see. And by the way, Andy Ludwig and Dave Aranda, close friends apparently. They know each other for a long, long time. The coaching circles are like this, but some coaches like each other. Some coaches do not like each other. This is one of those that he respects what Dave Aranda can do, and as an offensive guy, and Dave Aranda is a defensive guy. Here's what he says about the offense getting better against Baylor.
I think we need improvement in every area. I think I stated at the conclusion of fall camp, I'm confident in the direction of the offense and the improvement that we've shown, but in no way or means are we comfortable with where we are. Good work today, and look forward to another day of work tomorrow.
That's a typical response, right? Well, there's a lot of stuff we can work on. We watched the film, and there was a bunch of stuff we didn't like. It's like, yeah, right. I always love that. Oh, man, there's a lot of stuff that did not impress us right now. It's like, come on, Andy Ludwig. We know that's not true. How about Dijon Stanley? This is a guy who had a breakout performance. Obviously, Coach Whittingham wants to see more out of him. They don't really want him to be that every down back still. I don't think he is. You
don't want him running in between the tackles. You want him in space.
He's not big enough.
Those wheel routes were perfect for him.
Yeah, and you know what? they're not going to be there for Baylor against Baylor. Like, I think Baylor's going to get it dialed up. But here's what he said about Dijon Stanley, what that could look like going forward for him.
I thought his game was lights out. Obviously, there's a couple of those routes that any one of us could have gotten open on, but once he catches the ball, he's got tremendous speed, does a great job with it. Was very pleased with the touches from the backfield, did a really good job carrying the ball, and we'll just try to be creative with the way we get him his touches, because he's not the prototypical tailback that's going to line up with his toes at 7.5 and run the ball downhill, so we've got to be a little creative with him.
I love how coaches do that, make a player feel a little bit less accomplished. Well, I mean, we could have all gotten open on those plays. Am I right?
He's not wrong.
Hey, am I right, Dijon? Am I right?
SCU had, 9 guys in the box?
There was every time they did it, I guarantee you there were at least one of those places a check down because it was like, look what we have here. Look at the matchup we have.
Yeah.
Run that same route that you did. Scoring on a 65-yarder and then coming right back and scoring on a 79-yarder. Is that what it was? A 79-yarder of the same exact play? Wild. By the way, got a vote for stuff that made you a rich kid in the 90s from Unky Ben via Twitter, via X.
What's he got?
Landline phones everywhere, including in the bathroom.
Bathroom landline phone was definitely a flex.
You know when you go into hotels now and they still have that? Who's the guy using that? Who's the guy using that? I got to get on the phone, but let me get in this echoey toilet room.
Hey, that's somebody who works hard. They're even getting business done on the on the potty.
I'm telling you, that is a classy move. So you can send your stuff that made.
Is that a more disrespectful conversation to have on the phone with somebody or call them when you're on the toilet?
Where are you right now? Oh, don't worry about it. Are you in the bathroom again, Dad?
Wait, you called me while you're in the bathroom?
See, this is the kind of thing. These are the kind of moves dads make. They make that call while they're in the bathroom. They're like, oh, I'm in the bathroom. I'll call my son. Dad, why is this so echoey? Oh, my gosh. You're in the bathroom, aren't you? Is your shirt off? Come on.
Why are you calling me right now?
All right, here's what he said about that run game. This is Andy Ludwig still talking about that running back room that's fascinating, but you got to see some more out of these guys.
It was a throw-first game plan. I thought we ran the ball efficiently there. I'm sure you noticed Southern Utah was fully committed to stopping the run with nine-man boxes, creating a lot of one-on-ones on the outside, which we were able to exploit. I was pleased with Mikey Mitchell, what he showed. Obviously, Dijon Stanley out of the back, whether as a receiver and also running the ball. Did some good things, got a lot of faith and confidence in Mekhi Bernard, Charlie Vincent, and Jason Glove. And I think the O-line is really going to be something special on this football team.
The O-line is darn good.
And he used the word special.
That's the good news. That's the good news about all this is your running back situation, like Mikey Mitchell dropping the football puts him back, a half a game in Kyle Whittingham's mind, right? Like that's just an auto kind of.
That's their program. That's how it
auto
always
deduction.
had it.
Yes.
Devontae Booker got benched because he kept fumbling. That's one of the best running backs they've had in that program in the last generation.
So he
got benched for fumbling,
and that'll teach you a lesson.
Yeah,
because Mike Mitchell, the coach has named you multiple times by name at the end of practice about who you think has looked really good.
Yeah.
So he's putting himself out there for you, and then when that happens, now nothing bad came of it, except for that your coach lost a lot of confidence in you. You saw the look on that young man's face, that poor kid. He carried that ball back to the sidelines, I think, and he stitched it onto his arm. Like, it's a bad situation for him. But I bet he comes back stronger from that. I do want to see a guy who's an every down back for this Utah team. Whether it is Mekhi Bernard or Mike Mitchell, I want it to be a one guy situation. And then the rest of everybody else can just add to try to stop us because we're going to scheme all these different things. And what we do with what the Utes do with Mekhi Bernard and what they do with Dijon Stanley, it's going to be different than what they do with Mike Mitchell, Jalen Glover, etc. So, all right, here's what Andy Ludwig said about Cam Rising, and how many times he got outside the pocket and started to run the ball just a little bit.
I'm not fired up about it. He's got a hook slide, protect himself. We always talk about protecting the ball, protect the team. Quarterback protecting the team is protecting himself. We don't want to lose that position. But the other end of that spectrum would be that he gained a lot of confidence taking those hits and popping back up. But we're going to try to minimize those.
Okay. Not a big fan. Not a huge fan of the guy putting himself out there.
But Cam's got to be Cam. Cam's got to play the game a certain way.
There is a part of
That's
like
part of it.
you don't want to stop a competitor from doing his thing, right? That's what you want out of your leader. So there's Andy Ludwig. There's of course. Hey, by the way, is Florida State? I know the AP poll came out today. What are they? 15 or 16 in the latest? 18. Don't tell me they're in the 20s. JJ, Florida State's not in the 20s, is it?
They're not, no.
23?
They dropped from the rankings.
What? You and I are watching that game last night here in the studio.
Not only did they drop from the rankings, they didn't even get a single vote.
That's the equivalent. That's the AP poll voters equivalent of you fumbling during the game if you're Kyle Whittingham. Like, we're just going to pretend like you don't even exist. 0-2, okay? The last time Florida State – so, by the way, you haven't made your case very, very well. They're 0-3 since they were snubbed from the college football playoff. That's not a good look, is it?
I'd be curious to know if any team's ever gone from number 10 in the AP preseason poll to not only unranked but not getting votes after 2 games.
Well,
that's a huge fall.
We do have something coming up a little bit later in the program. Things that lasted longer than Florida State in the rankings this year. Okay? So we'll have that for you. Keep your rich kid stuff from the 90s coming in as well via Twitter at Alex Curie KSL. What's your X handle, Jeremiah?
At Jeremiah Jensen.
Easy enough.
I know that's a little crazy sounding, but
at Jeremiah Jensen. What's the info that I was asking for?
The dropping out of the poll. Preseason top 10. Remember Michigan? App State?
Oh, that's right. They were number 7. They were number 7 that year.
Yeah. Then also, yeah. Well, that's 2
So
games.
did they drop?
Yeah.
So did they drop right after they lost that game to App State? You lose an FCS game at home. That might be enough.
And also Clemson also in 2008.
Yeah. Okay.
Not shocking after this past weekend.
No. Clemson, they got some stuff to figure out, don't they? Not the least of which is, asking for a friend, can you get into the transfer portal right now? I know everybody's been ripping on me for that. Can I get in right now?
I've changed my mind. We need some transfers in here. Can we get them in here now?
What's your login? Can I get into that? You have an app? See if I can get into the app, the transfer portal app. Can you share that with
when
me?
he still has a flip phone.
You saw it.
He might even just have a pager.
Hit me up on my pager. Beep me. If it's an emergency, hit 911 on the message so I know that it's an emergency. We used to do that. Oh, because I had a pager, JJ.
Yeah.
Did you have a pager?
I missed the pager thing.
See?
I did have a
lucky.
flip phone, though.
Oh, look who's classy.
Yeah. Another flex in the
Next
late
thing
90s,
you're going to tell me is you
2000s.
bought brand name sodas, not just Shasta.
Oh, no.
That was
we
another
have
one.
fully stocked Shasta. We were a Shasta family. Couldn't afford couldn't afford Coca-Cola in our house. It was all Shasta.
We didn't even. My mom. One time we went in through a
Tampico.
We
you know
were
what Tampico is?
Of course, I know what Tampico
I mean,
is.
it probably took 10 years off of my life drinking Tampico when I was a teenager, but $1 per gallon.
There were colors on the color chemical wheel that do not exist anymore. The FDA does not approve anymore of some of those. My mom bought these sodas one time. Like when soda came into the house, it was a shock. We got this soda called Diet Right. Right.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right was spelled R-I-T-E.
Yeah.
Diet Right soda. And then we really classed it up when we got to the regular Frescas. Shasta, we just brought up. Shasta was a JJ touch. We were Fresca at my house because we were classy. Tab was.
Tab is so 80s, but Tab is like.
It's back.
That was.
Technically.
That was the drink that everybody drank in the 80s.
How about a Tab? You want a Tab, you got to order something. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. When we do, let's talk SMU and what their coaches are saying about BYU. Rhett Lashlee actually said some stuff at his press conference this week about the Cougs. So we'll get into that and much more. Stay right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Cougars hit the road for a huge matchup against SMU. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
one less day, but BYU does the same thing. So, early in the year, hopefully you're physically in a little bit better shape. So quick turnaround, we'll do what we can to be smart in the next, 72 hours to be as fresh as we can. I think at the end of the day, both teams got to play in the same amount of game prep time and physicality, resting time. So I think we'll be all right.
Rhett Lashlee, he's the head coach of the SMU Mustangs. Of course, the Cougs taking the trip down to Dallas this week, firing it off. Anytime, JJ, I have a weakness for the coaches with the Southern accent. Now, if you're wondering what his pedigree is, of course, he's been coaching at SMU since 2022. And he, before that, was the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Miami. Did the same job at SMU before that, at UConn, at Auburn, at Arkansas State, at Samford, at Georgia. He has an offensive background that people love, and by the way, that's been the calling card of this. That's been the calling card of this SMU offense, right? He's from that Gus Malzahn coaching tree, right?
Yes.
We just heard Coach Satake talking about that during the break. But yeah, it's an interesting thing because every time that Gus Malzahn went somewhere, Rhett Lashlee went with him. We talk about how Gus Malzahn is a scary coach to go up against if you're BYU and you're going to UCF, and Utah if you're going to UCF later in the year. It's a tough one. So anyway, bottom line is Rhett Lashlee is a guy who has the respect of Coach Kalani Sitake. You hear coaches sometimes say those types of things, JJ. They don't mean much, but these guys actually, with the connections of Nike and all that stuff, when those coaches all get together during the offseason, some of them gravitate toward one another, and Coach made it sound like they really, really like hanging out with one another.
Look, for those of you who have met Kalani Sitake in person, been around him, watched him, observed him, how can you not love that guy? And look, Utah fans right now are saying, yeah, I love Kalani too, because he used to be your guy. And you understand it, you get it. Everybody loves Kalani. I mean, if you know somebody that doesn't love Kalani, let me know, because I'd like to meet them, because I've never met them before, right? So he's a very popular coach in coaching circles now, and I think a lot of people respect his approach to the game, how he handles himself, the humility that he carries himself with, that a lot of coaches struggle to have. I think that Kalani has less ego than any coach I've seen, and I mean that in the utmost respect, because a lot of coaches, ego gets in the way of them sometimes. They get caught up in their ego, their legacy, all those things that really don't matter. Mm-hmm. What Kalani cares about is running a great program and doing everything he can to make sure that his players have what they need to succeed. And you see him doing things that most coaches aren't willing to do. I mean, how many missionary farewells, funerals, different things does Kalani attend that he doesn't have to or need to, but he does it because he's there and he's doing it consistently. So do I understand why Coach Rhett Lashlee loves Kalani if he's had some experience with him? I absolutely do. And you're going to hear every coach praise Kalani Sitake. That he's that kind of a guy. And I think people respect the job he's doing at BYU. And oftentimes he didn't have the resources and the things that he needed to be successful. I mean, how much of a struggle has it been?
We still wonder if they have the resources still.
You don't have the money to pay your assistant coaches. You're going up against teams, even in Independence, they were going up against teams that had $1 million coordinators.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
BYU didn't have that until recently. I know things are going to change now in the Big 12, and people are stepping up down there. But, I mean, Kalani's had to do more with less than just about any coach you'd see at this level. And so there's a lot of respect for him out there.
$1 million coordinator. It's a Disney movie in the making. Hey, write that down for a movie.
It's a new band name.
That's
$1 million
great.
coordinator.
$1 million coordinator. In their most recent effort, $1 million coordinator comes to you. USANA Amphitheater. What are they calling now? Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater.
Make sure which credit union or bank is sponsoring that thing before you talk about it.
You know I'll screw it up.
I can't keep track.
All right. Here's what Rhett Lashlee had to say more about this, because BYU got to answer all these questions last year, and this year SMU's the one who it's their first go in a power conference. Here's what he had to say about that.
There's been a lot of buzz around our program, which is great, and there's a lot of overzealous people out there prognosticating what we're supposed to do. I mean, there's no pressure on us. We're not supposed to win these games, right? If you look at history, the 4 teams that went into the Big 12 last year, none of them had a winning record in the first year. Now we haven't had that many bites at, but I don't think, and y'all can fact check me, I don't think we won a home game against a Power 4 opponent since 2010. So now we've probably only had 10 games at home we haven't played one even every year at home. We just need to relax and go play.
He makes a good point. Hey, look, even all these Big 12 teams, including BYU, one of these new in the Big 12 last year, not one of them had a winning record. I don't know if the ACC, obviously there is they're having what do we call this? So they're having a moment. It's a renaissance.
Yeah.
Trying to find themselves. It's the ACC's Rumspringa.
That sounds like a midlife crisis instead of a renaissance. Trying to find yourself.
It's their own Rumspringa. We're going to let you guys go off and do your own thing. Then you can come back to the family later. All right? Go out there, find out what's going on in the real world. Here's what he says about his team and why they're considered to be a favorite this weekend. By the way, I'm going to have Jeremy check on it during this clip here, but I think it's a double digit. I think the Cougs are double-digit dogs again this weekend.
I think we got a good team. We're not there yet. Just into week 3, we're still in that early season process where you're trying to figure out your identity and who you're going to be on both sides of the ball. We have faced adversity already early on in the season, and we responded well. Some of these things out there are kind of baffling. To me, we're the underdog every week. Doesn't matter what the line says. It doesn't matter. We're not supposed to come in and beat everybody.
Yeah, I love that. That people have expectations for you and you don't even accept them. Like the good ones. Oh, we're supposed to lose every game. They're like, well, not this one. They're all, well, yeah, if you believe the line. Which one? Which one is it? He's like, yeah, of course. Come on. 10.5-point dogs BYU are going into Dallas this weekend.
That disrespectful?
It's a bit much, right?
Look, I like SMU, and we did our preseason whatever. We both predicted that SMU is going to win this game. It's tough. It's a big challenge for BYU to go down there.
Has that changed? Has your mind changed at all?
I'm still leaning SMU, but I feel a lot better about BYU today than I did 3 months ago, 6 months ago, for sure.
How about 2 weeks ago? Honestly.
2 weeks ago, yeah, absolutely. I'll go back to Friday. I feel a lot better now because I saw some stuff on film, and I'm watching them. I'm like, this is good. Jake Retzloff was really good. The offensive line did a better job up front. They actually got a pass rush. They created some chaos plays. Everything that we criticized about them, they did it. But it was Southern Illinois.
Yeah.
Go do it this week at SMU, get a win, and all of a sudden we're having a completely different conversation. But SMU is good, folks. They are really, really good. They're explosive on offense. They're better on defense than you think. They've got athletes. They're really good. It's not going to be an easy task to go down there, and the betting line shows you that. It's a 10.5-point difference. That's a lot.
I know we're favored, but, man, I think we're the underdog this week. It's like, come on, coaches.
Stop.
You can tell us you can tell us and yourself all the lies you want. Come on. Here's what Rhett Lashlee, head coach of SMU, said about his team and making adjustments. They're already 2-0. They had a rough go against Nevada, and then they got it kind of back last week.
I have learned so far that we'll respond. I think we responded well in game at Nevada when things weren't great at all. We found a way to dig deep and respond to the situation. I think we responded last week by coming out and starting fast and playing well and addressing some of the things that were an issue the week before. That part is encouraging because you're not going to play great all the time. Your offense is going to go through tough streaks. Your defense is going to struggle at times, teams, and it's the teams that can just kind of go to the next play, go to the next drive, go to the next game, so to speak, and respond that are going to do well. So I've learned that.
Okay. Preston Stone, by the way, is the starting quarterback for SMU. And it's kind of an interesting thing because they've done this 2-quarterback deal. Now, I think we were talking about this. Preston Stone ended up getting, I think, 3/4 of the snaps last Saturday, right?
Yeah.
But this is a system that's still trying to work. They legitimately think that this is a 2-quarterback system. Here's what he said about how they're going to handle the quarterback situation this week with BYU.
Preston's our starter. He earned that job. He is the starter, and he's going to start and he's going to play a lot. I still think you'll see Kevin. The last game was the way it went was loud. We kind of played back and forth a little more than we probably normally would, but it was good to get both those guys a lot of drives and even Keldrick in there. But nothing's changed. Preston's our starter, and I think they're both playing at a really good level. They're both valuing the football. They're both putting the ball in the end zone when they're out there a lot. We'll continue to go as is, and I think BYU should be ready for both of them.
That's a good one. You got to value the football, JJ. That's a new one.
I like that.
What do you do? Well, I don't know, honey. I value our relationship. I value this football. I love Lamp. That's what it is. It's the football equivalent of I love Lamp.
Wow.
I value this football. All right? I'm going to take that with me.
I could not love a human baby more than I love this football.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got a Would You Rather right around the corner. I have somebody else weighing on what made you rich in the 90s. So we'll have another couple to add to the list here. Stay with us. When you went over to that friend's house, you know that friend's house. You went over there and you went, gosh, why can't my dad be what does your dad do? He's a what?
You guys have HBO?
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Cable? But like upgraded cable? No way. All right, we'll take a break. More to go. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody. Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, welcome back, everybody. Would you rather on the program? Couple things going on. We want to remind you to go ahead and go to KSLSports.com/contests and nominate your youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. You know what we do now. We honor those parents and those volunteers, those coaches, the assistant coaches, the team moms, whomever it might be. Maybe that person who coordinates all the youth sports in your neighborhood, and they do a phenomenal job doing it, and they don't get the recognition. It's a thankless job many times, and we want to be able to thank the people for doing those jobs. Go to KSLSports.com/contests. Write up that nomination. JJ and I read them off on Thursdays, and it's all brought to you by Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals, both of whom will give them a prize, $200 to Beehive Meals, and a gift card, a Visa gift card from the folks at Hercules Credit Union. So just go to KSLSports.com/contests and nominate that youth sports volunteer in your neighborhood. All right. Would you rather? Would you rather be a Florida State fan in football with high expectations, or cheer on a team that you have with low expectations? What are you implying? Any certain team in particular, Jeremy? Because I know you wrote that one in there.
No, just a team that might be like 5-7.
It's like a Boston College.
Well, no, they'd be the top 10 team yesterday.
Oh, that was what was great. Is because the AP poll was sat on for like 13 days. That looked like the most aggressive fall from grace. There was obviously Florida State had no business still being in the rankings where they were. But yeah, JJ and I are watching that game in the studio. And we've got that little number 10 next to Florida State. Has never been a more fake ranking than we've ever seen. I'm going to go with the problem is that, well, here's the thing. Florida State is one of those programs that for me, when I was growing up, like there were very few programs that were run by better coaches, had a better pedigree. Like Florida State was the pinnacle. And like when I was in high school in the mid to late 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it. The program was a movie based on Florida State.
Yeah.
Right? Who's in that movie? Omar Epps, right? Anyway, bottom line is, and then the whole scene where they go on the road and lay in there and they have the trucks drive over them, right? I still think there's some fake, the old wives' tale. They're like, oh, they'd cut that out of the movie because people were doing it. It's like, come on. Anyway, the bottom line is that was the standard of college football when we were growing up, right? Like
they had
that
a
was
brand. That was a strong brand.
It was the new, yes, it was the new.
There are people our age from where we grew up with different places that are Florida State fans
because of that.
Deion Sanders, and the list of Florida State players is long, and we don't have time to list them all, but that's a storied program and one of the strongest brands in college football to this day.
So which one is it?
It's the Florida State one. Like, you would rather ride or die with a team that has a chance to win it all and be that brand and be that big program and live with a disappointment now and then. I mean, if Florida State fans were told before last season, you can have this special season where you go undefeated in the regular season, but you have to lose the first 2 games next season, I think they would take it, right? So it feels like sky is falling if you're a Florida State fan right now, but that's part of the ride. Like, your program's going to go up and down. They have reasons why they're struggling right now. They picked the wrong transfer quarterback. Jeez. And this is another thing that we talk about in college football where Just because you go out and get that guy that has that big name doesn't mean it's going to translate into wins. And who said it? It was Nick Saban said it recently that, if Ohio State has $20 million and they go out and spend it on these players, and those players aren't any good, it doesn't do you a dang bit of good.
So the rich 90s kid that you knew?
Yeah.
Florida State starter jacket.
For sure. They were Florida State fans.
Oh, yeah. The rich kid, because their dad would have taken him to a game maybe.
Yeah,
right?
They loved Florida State and the Dallas Cowboys.
By the way, so Florida State has 3 national championships. They won one in 93, 99, and 2013. Jameis Winston, that was the year Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
They won the national championship that year. By the way, between 93 and 99, they went to 5 national championship games.
Exactly.
They won 2 of them.
They were the biggest brand in
they
the 90s.
won 90% of the games in the decade, in the 1990 decades. Well, this has been a full 90s theme this hour, hasn't it?
Unintentionally, we promise.
But I will say, I think I'd much rather look. If you legitimately were on board with that team and they started winning in the early 90s and were good basically all the way up until, I don't know, 10 minutes ago, then, Jimbo Fisher brought a little bit of meh to the program.
They had the right quarterback. They won a national title.
Yep, that's right. Man, Charlie Ward and Chris Winkie, both national championship winners.
Yeah, they've got multiple Heisman Trophy winners.
Crazy. All right. Yeah, I'll choose that. Low expectations just means you're low self-esteem. That means your team sucks.
That means you're just so insecure.
No, it means yes. That's exactly you.
It's easier to cheer for the little team that could.
I've got low expectations for the Cougs this year, Wilbur.
Oh, jeez.
That's what you do. You go full negativity.
Derek Brooks.
Oh, my gosh.
Charlie Ward, Leroy Butler, Warwick Dunn.
It's Leroy Butler.
You're right. Anquan Bolden.
Oh, my gosh.
Peter Boulware.
Peter Warwick, dude.
Yeah, the list goes on and on and on. There's the great list of players that played at that program. It's impressive, and they have a long history. It's been up and down. Burt Reynolds, the great Burt Reynolds.
Oh, yeah,
Rest
of
in
course.
peace.
That's exactly. Wait, what did you just say?
Burt Reynolds played for the Seminoles.
Yeah, but is he? You didn't say he's dead.
You really
though.
aren't going to have to go to Wikipedia for this one, are you?
You didn't say he's dead, did you?
His legacy lives on forever, but he has indeed passed.
Smokey?
And the Bandit.
Oh, my gosh. All right. May he rest. All right.
He's hanging out with Dom DeLuise in a cloud somewhere.
I think he really was like 90 when he died, too, right?
Oh, he was old.
He was super old.
He lived for him.
All right. But that chest hair
Him and
was...
Lee Corso were friends, or maybe they were teammates? I
Yeah,
don't know.
or... No, maybe he was his coach. Could have been, right?
How old do you think he is?
No, I'm not saying Lee. I'm saying Lee Corso may have been Burt Reynolds' coach. All right, we'll look it up. We'll find all that out. We'll come back.
That's quite a
stretch.
Quite a hole we went through there.
Yeah, come on. All right.
They were teammates, by the way.
Oh!
And lifelong friends.
See, Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson, it's not that tough. You play on the team together, you can still be friends later. All right? Figure it out. We'll come back. We, around the corner, have our conversation, our weekly conversation with Connor Pay. You don't want to miss it. We sit down with BYU's offensive captain, their center, and get some insights. At the very least, you'll get insights because Connor Pay is not short on opinions. So we'll come right back. We got more to go right around the corner. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Get the latest Utah sports headlines delivered to your inbox.
It's time to take you inside the huddle. Here we go. Straight from the source. This is the Players Club with JJ and Alex, featuring Cougar offensive lineman Connor Pay on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. It's another edition of the Players Club right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Keary, Jeremiah Jensen, of course, and our weekly guest, Connor Pay, BYU offensive lineman, captain of this offense. Hey, week 1 in the books, Connor. How you feeling about it? Nice little W in the first week?
Week 1 in the books, man. Yeah, no, it feels good. It's good to be in the win column and to feel like we played pretty well on offense. Obviously, a good amount of things that we can clean up still, and but it was good to go out there and have a lot of yards, score a lot of points. It's obviously something that we didn't do very well last year. So it was good to go out and do that in week 1.
We expected Jake Retzlaff to be the starter on Saturday, and that was indeed the case. And now that you can talk about it, how did he separate himself in camp and earn that starting job?
I think it was just his consistency. Because him and Gary both pushed each other really hard during training camp, and they both played really well, which I think elevated both their play because they're like, oh man, got to step it up because Gary had a good day or Jake had a good day, and I think at the end of the day, Jake was just the one that was able to consistently move the offense down the field, a little more, and I mean, I think Gary's such a weapon though that I'm sure we're going to find a way to use him at some point.
Let's chat a little bit about obviously everybody talked about, that was such a storyline. I'm glad that that's not the storyline anymore about whether, there's going to be who the starting quarterback is. Although we as media people have no other recourse this week, like the reflex of still asking about, so what's Gary Bohannon's role going to be this week? Colleen's like, I'm not going to talk about that. I don't want to tell you guys. I was like, why are we asking? Look, now you have your quarterback. Like now you can move forward with these things, but you've been in, now across a span of, I guess it would be technically 5 games with Jake as the head of that huddle. What have you seen from 2023 Jake Retzlaff to this year, like just in that difference of having the offseason, going through what he did, and then being able to kind of what's the new version of Jake Retzlaff? Because I think we all looked and went, man, that's a guy who looks a lot more confident.
Yeah, I think he definitely has a lot more of a command and a control of the huddle. And I think that just comes with a better understanding of the offense. It's a lot easier for the operation to be smooth and all that stuff when your quarterback knows everything that's going on. And I think last year, he was still new to the system, still trying to grasp everything. And so, a lot of times, we were last year, we're in the huddle, helping him, making sure he understands everything with the formations, the motions, all that stuff. And now it's flipped on its head where, he's in complete control of the huddle and he understands everything that's going on. And, he was already smart in terms of, recognizing defense and doing all that kind of stuff. But now that he's got our system, and he's been able to digest it for a full off season, he's just a lot more in command and in control.
We look at the rushing numbers. We talked about how important it would be for you guys to have success on the ground this year and what that would do for the offense. In game 1, mission accomplished, 179 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. How do you feel about the run game after one game?
I'm happy with that. Because I think we mentioned last week just how this is not an easy defense to run the football against. Even though FCS team, when they run that 3-3 stack defense and they moved a bunch, it makes it hard to run the ball because essentially what they're trying to do is just gum everything up in the middle and force you to throw it over their head or beat them on the edges. And so, I felt like being able to handle all the movement, all the weird things they were doing on defense and still be able to pump out 4, 5, 6, 7-yard runs, was really happy with that, to give our offense a little more balance. And, it was just kudos to A-Rod too for pounding that rock. I think we ran the ball 46 or 47 times.
47 times, yeah.
And so, I think, that just showed his trust and his confidence in us. And we knew going into this game there were going to be some dirty runs that are 1, 2, 3 yards just because the way that defense played. But we also knew that because of that, there were going to be some that popped and that once we consistently ran the ball, we were going to be able to throw it over their head a little bit. And that's what happened.
Nobody wants the dirty runs, Connor. That's a T-shirt for you. You can make that one up during the offseason. As you get ready this week, obviously now you start to fire up the preparation for another opponent. This one is 2 times harder, I always like to say, because you're going on the road, but you're also playing an SMU team that is checks notes in the ACC now. So, of course, the ACC SMU Mustangs. But, I mean, you're going down to Dallas, so there's already a hostile environment situation on top of it. What have you guys already seen so far studying this Mustangs defense?
Well, they're a good team, man. They're a good team. I think they had for whatever reason, had a little bit of struggles in week 0 against Nevada. And then, had a really good game, and granted against a lesser opponent, but still played really well this last week. And their defense is stout and strong. They're basing out of a 4-2, and they don't move or stunt a whole lot. They pressure a little bit, but nothing crazy. They kind of play base defense and be like, look, we're going to be stronger than you. We're going to be more disciplined than you. We're going to hold our gaps better than you. And they're really consistent on defense. And so, it's going to be a good challenge for us. Big, strong opponent. We're excited. We're excited to go down there and accept the challenge.
I'm curious about this. When you guys have to sit back and analyze a game, and when it's against an FCS opponent, how do you evaluate yourselves knowing that that's FCS competition? The next week you're going to have to play Power 4 competition on the road. How do you guys figure that out and kind of weigh where you match up and where you're at? Reality it feels like you kind of have to take that into evaluation. I'm just curious what you guys do behind the scenes to account for that.
No, that's definitely a factor too, because and I think that shows a lot of why the schemes between these two teams are so different. Like even SIU wasn't oblivious to the fact that maybe one-on-one, they were a little bit lesser players, and so they have to do all that weird stuff on defense. And so, honestly, it's kind of a hard game to look at. It's like, okay, how do we do just one-on-one man blocks where we move in the line of scrimmage? It's like, well, oftentimes we didn't even get the chance because, I'm blocking. I have a 0 technique and I have to keep my eyes on a 5 technique who might be long sticking, into the A gap. And it's just, it makes things a little more challenging in that aspect. But I think, it's easy. And I think a lot of the things we saw on tape is you kind of just have to evaluate yourself for yourself. Not necessarily look at the opponent, because it's about what we do. It's not about what they do. Regardless of who the opponent is, and Coach Woods is huge on that. And we played pretty well as an offense, but we got our lickings today too. A little bit in that meeting because we were sloppy a little bit with our technique at times, and just some other things. And he's always harping on that fact. They're like, look, I don't care who we're playing. It's not about them. It's not about what they do. It's about what we do, and we have to be more consistent and better at what we do. And so that's kind of the approach and how we looked at the game over this last weekend. Just, okay, now we can identify 2 or 3 main things that we felt like were recurring themes in the game that maybe we did well, and the recurring themes of things that we struggled with, so that we can emphasize them and fit them into the game plan for this week against SMU.
Connor, how has your leadership evolved over the last little while? Obviously you've got a couple of years of your guys, looking up to you quite a bit, but you've been in the program a long time. But how do you evaluate yourself on how far you've come as a leader, and and what you've learned works and doesn't work when it comes to, and how much you're allowed to really even kind of get on guys or ask more of dudes that you're around, and how that works for you, and how far you've come as a leader?
I think it has changed, quite a bit especially from this year to last year, just because of how last year was going, and just a lot of issues we were having in our own position room, but just as a team too in general. That I was a pretty big head, as a leader last year, and a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling at people and stuff. And I haven't had to do that almost at all this year, because the guys are locked in and they want to get better. And I think one of the ways that I guess it's kind of hard to measure leadership, but I think one of the ways I try to is, how do the other players on the team, but in my position room especially, approach me? Are they willing to hold me accountable the same way that I'm holding them accountable? Because if they're not, then I'm failing as a leader, and I'm not enabling them as a leader to feel like, they have to hold the standard the same way I have to hold the standard. Great leadership spreads.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, there's been times this year where it's like, hey, it's not the funnest thing in the world, but I may have screwed something up, and Waylon will turn to me and be like, hey, bro, what are you doing? like, screwed that up. You got to do this. And then I'll be like, and, sometimes I'm a little irritated at first, but, it's always like, hey, okay, I'm glad that Waylon feels comfortable enough to do that to me, and Kym the same way, Caleb, all of us, the way we're able to just hold each other accountable. And it's like, how can I call myself the leader of our room and hold people accountable if I won't show the example of how to be held accountable by somebody else as well? And so I think that's been an evolution that, has happened a lot this season and in the off season too, just trying to make myself more approachable and more, realizing that, like, hey, like, yes, I have a lot of starts. I'm a captain, all these things, but I'm in the trenches battling just like you guys are. Like, we're in this together. Like, there's no difference between what I do and what you do. It's a team effort, and we win as a team, we lose as a team, we succeed as a team, we fail as a team. And, and so I think, that's been a really cool thing to have happen. Just kind of the cohesiveness and watching the leadership attributes spread throughout the O-line room has been, at least for me, someone who kind of had to do it by myself last year, has been pretty fun to watch.
How did the team find out about Jay Hill's health scare last week, and what was the reaction, and how did you guys process that throughout the weekend? That could become a distraction. It seemed to be an inspiration.
No, for sure. And I think, Coach, the first thing, Coach Hill, we when we came into our team meeting before the game on Friday, we kind of noticed that, like, Coach Hill wasn't in the room, but also sometimes, the coordinators have stuff they're doing or something. They're not in every team meeting, and so didn't think anything of it at first. But then Kalani got up and was just like, hey, wanted to give you guys an update. We got Coach Hill on the phone. He had a little bit of a health scare and he wants to talk to you guys. And so they put him up on a Zoom call from the hospital in the team meeting. And he explained that, he kind of went through and, just explained what happened on Thursday night and how he ended up having the heart attack and, how he was going to he had already had a procedure at that point, and then he was going to have another one Saturday morning. And just told us that he didn't know if he was going to be able to make it to the game, but that he was going to try. And obviously it's shocking and kind of jarring, because Coach Hill, super energetic, super active, always in the weight room with us lifting, 49 years old, to just out of nowhere have a heart attack. It's just kind of, and just kind of that reality that it could have been very, very different.
Yeah.
Right. There's a chance that, obviously that could have been on the totally opposite side and he may not have made it. Obviously very jarring at first.
Yeah.
But Coach Hill was huge on, like, look, I'm talking to you guys because I don't want this to be a distraction, all this stuff, and basically went back into coach mode. And just wanted us to play well. And said, I'm going to do my best to get to the game if I can. And thankfully he was able to come and be in the box. But yeah, no, it was, we really kind of just rallied around him a little bit because that was his message from his hospital bed even, was just to go out, play hard, execute the game plan, and just know, like, it's just when, I think some of my teammates have talked about this in some of the interviews they've done, but now it's like when he turns to you and tells you to toughen up a little bit, and to suck some things up as the season gets hard, or maybe you're hurting in practice, has a different meaning now to know this guy had a heart attack and 2 days later he's in the booth coaching our game.
Yeah.
It's just, he's the epitome of the toughness that he asks of his players. And that's what he gave off in that phone call, and that's what he encouraged us to be in the game. So it was easy to rally around that.
It was, I think we talked about this last week. October 21st was the last win you guys had before this last weekend. I mean, that's how long it was. We talked a little bit about how the locker room can just be an absolutely lonely and quiet place after losses. Describe what this locker room was like on Saturday, and just kind of where everybody's head was at. I know sometimes it's not good to just like celebrate for nothing, but I mean, like that must have felt good to get in there and have a little bit more of a positive attitude in that locker room.
No, for sure. And I think also just like, it doesn't matter who it is. You have to celebrate the wins. it's hard to win in college football. You just can't let it go too far to where you become complacent in your preparation for the next game, right? And so we enjoyed that game in the locker room. You know, the vibes were awesome and everybody was having a good time after the game. And then once you leave that stadium, you wake up the next morning and snap, we're into SMU mode now. And so it's like, it was awesome. Glad that we were able to get a win last week, but what we did last week has no bearing on what we're going to be doing this week. You know, the work begins all over again, and you got to come out and grind and earn the right to be confident for our game on Friday. But, you know, so I think while we enjoy the victories, they are short-lived a little bit, but those moments you get in the locker room as a team after are kind of one of those you know, special times where you can just kind of enjoy each other. You know, you've worked so hard for the entire off season to be able to go out and perform well. And so you got to enjoy it when you get the chance. I mean, Kalani loves to do dance competitions in the locker room and things after the games. I think the guys are a little shy. I think we got to get the cameras out of there. But, I think there's too many cameras because guys don't want to end up on Instagram.
They do.
Or
I was going to say they do anyway. Yeah, everybody's doing the war.
Kalani mentioned that today. He's like, maybe the team meeting, he's like, maybe we need to get the cameras out of there. So maybe next game we'll kick all the cameras out. We can have a real party.
Yeah, there you go. Then the old linemen start taking their shirts off. That's when it gets fun.
Things get nuts.
When the cameras are gone, we'll get involved.
The offense looked great on Saturday. The defense looked good too, and I know that they've put a lot of emphasis on creating more chaos, and they did that against Southern Illinois. 2 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. You're going against those guys in practice every day. You'd know better than anybody how to answer this question. How much different is the defense and their ability to create chaos this year than last year when they struggled to do so?
Very different. I think you know, ironically, schematically, it's the same defense. It's a lot of the same players, but had a great offseason with Coach Phyllis. They're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, and just that experience in the system. They're able to use the scheme to their advantage. Where it's like last year, you know, it was just their first season in it, learning how to execute what Coach Hill wants. Whereas this year, they know that defense like the back of their hand, and they're able to use that scheme to their advantage and play to it a little more. And so I think in those aspects is why, you know, that they played really well, and I'm looking forward to watching them ball against SMU too.
Connor Pay, every week he's right here with us on the Players Club as we get you ready for another BYU game this week, of course, Friday matchup against SMU down in Dallas at Gerald Ford Stadium. It's a nice part of town too. Look, this is when I was in the Dallas-Fort Worth area as a kid, and SMU, everybody knew that's where all the rich kids went to school. But you know, now that was that was only 10 or 12 years after the death penalty stuff, and so that football program's a lot different now. They're going to be tough this weekend. So good luck, man. Stay healthy, and we're always looking forward to it. Thanks for hanging out with us again this week.
Thank you, guys, man. It's always a blast.
Hey, Connor. Before you go, thanks for putting the image in my mind of the offensive line dancing around in the locker room without their shirts on. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm going to sneak.
Anytime.
We're going to sneak a camera in there, by the way. It'll be fine. All right. We'll take the break here. We got more to go around the corner. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Aggies hit the road to Southern California for a battle against USC. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Stay safe out there. Severe thunderstorm warning that we're under right now.
A lot of kids going to practice right now. Different sports.
You know what?
Heads up.
Just cancel it.
Do us all a favor.
Every parent right now, just cancel
Do
it.
us all a favor.
I don't want to get in the car and take my brat to this practice. Don't make me do it. I need that time back in my day.
They're not brats. It's just.
Yeah, they are. Every parent thinks their kid's a turd. The best kid on the planet at the same time. It's a weird dynamic.
We just have, like, practices ending at the exact same time. Tuesdays are hard.
They are.
So
I hear you. I got 4 kids.
Go ahead and cancel.
2 of them are playing football right now. So
go ahead and cancel it.
It's busy.
Come on. We'll take it.
Do it, coaches. I dare you.
Come on, coach.
Cancel.
You don't want to do it for the kids, man.
Cancel.
You don't want to be that guy that's unsafe, are you?
Cancel practice.
Come on, coach.
Doing a favor for all you parents out there. A little subliminal messaging out to the coaches out there.
Come on, coach.
Do it. Do it.
You didn't know about that one coach who got fired after that Lightning just immediately came up on the team, and he decided that Lightning was more important, or that practice is more important than safety? You don't want to be that guy, do you, coach? Come on. Let me see here.
Love lightning delays, by the way. Isn't that the best thing in
Well,
sports?
my favorite is when it's like,
it's definitely number one.
Hit the reset button. It's another 30 minutes.
Oh, it's right up there with long replays in sports.
I know.
The lightning delay, the Penn State West Virginia game this weekend was postponed almost 2 hours, right?
Do you remember that year? So I went out to Virginia.
Oh, I was there.
BYU
2013.
played Virginia. 2013.
Yep.
BYU played Virginia. They have to go back into the locker room. They clear the stadium. It was a whole mess. And by the way, that was the most rain I had seen in a single place, like, in my life. I couldn't believe
the rain is different out on the East Coast. It's
was
just different.
Bonkers. All right. So then the game gets back underway. BYU never gets warmed back up again, basically, and they lose that game to UVA. I want to say it was the very next week, or at least very close to. That's when Texas came to town, down to Provo. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Lightning delay, weather delay for like 2 hours. Same thing. There's 2 weeks in a row of weather delays, and to the point when you have to ask 70,000 fans to come back later. Hey, everybody, come get under the eaves over here. Get yourself a cougar tail and stay out of your seat. Was it back-to-back weeks?
Yes, it was.
It was.
Yeah, it was.
Memory
I remember
serves,
it well.
man.
I was at both games, and it was like, are you kidding me? We're doing this again?
Well, talk about going from depression that week to the next week, beating Texas with Taysom Hill's 259 yards on the ground. Manny Diaz basically getting fired just based off of that one performance that defense had.
It was unreal. 259 yards rushing.
Crazy.
You know what happened the next week?
Who'd they play?
Utah.
That wasn't 54-10, was it? No, that was. What was it?
Oh, it was not. It was 20-13. Utah won.
Oh, that was. Yeah. That was Taysom. That was Taysom and Utah. Taysom he played a decent game against the Utes.
Yeah, Cody Hoffman had 8 catches, 108 yards.
Wow.
But Trez Anderson had a big game.
Yep.
And Travis Wilson threw 2 touchdowns, 273 yards.
Oh, dude, bro. You talking about dude, bro?
Dude, bro. Oh, yeah. Dude, bro had a good game that day. Yeah, Utah was up 20-6, and then BYU.
What I'm saying is,
scored late.
If BYU can postpone games for long periods of time, coach out there in the Ute Conference or in wherever your kids' youth conference is, just give the kids a break today. All right? Why not? Here's
incredibly self-serving.
I know.
Here on
it's easier for
JJ
us.
and Alex today.
It's easier for us. Very quickly before we get on to Dave Aranda and his thoughts that he had about Utah at his weekly press conference. Connor Pay has turned a page, has turned a corner this year. We just had our conversation with him. If you missed any of it, it was 20 minutes of Connor being as real as you can get for a football player. And that's why we love having him on every week. But this is a program that had to go through major attitude changes in the offseason.
Yeah.
And every week we do these interviews with Connor, we get a little bit more of a picture of how much of a mess the off-the-field situation was for that team, the in-meetings and just the insider stuff for last year for BYU that caused also as bad of the ripple effects of the losing as anything else I think did too. And it's tough too because there was a lot of wasted talent who went away after that season because they just didn't have their stuff together. And you feel like at the very least it's changed this year and there's something different that's going on down there in Provo. Is that the same vibe you're getting?
So far, yes. We'll learn a lot more about BYU this week against SMU, but there's definitely a different feel, and week one had a different feel. And we talked to Connor, and you can kind of glean from his attitude and how he feels. He's feeling very up, and you can tell there's an energy about him and an optimism about the season that didn't exist there when we spoke to him last year. So there's no question about that. And I think, obviously BYU's got to get it done on the field, but the vibes in the locker room and the vibes from the players is much different than it was last year.
Yeah, love having him on. We did have to bleep him, which is also a reason I love Connor Pay.
You want to talk to a BYU player that isn't afraid to bleep in an interview. That's real right there. He's a human being.
Hey, it's our weekly interview with bleeping Connor Pay.
Bleep, yeah.
Hey, don't miss your chance every week to win on the KSL Sports Zone. Our Win Ticket Wednesdays are of monumental fame, and tomorrow is just one of those days. We're going to give away some tickets. You can win a pair of tickets to Def Leppard at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on September 10th. Listen to the KSL Sports Zone all day. That's tomorrow. It's a Win Ticket Wednesday. All day for your chance to win tickets. So there you go. I think Def Leppard, that's the first time they've been to Utah in like 4 or 5 years.
We'll have to ask Dave McCann
and Mike Hedrick go on a mandate every year that Def Leppard comes into town.
What's the best Def Leppard song?
Pour Some Sugar?
I'm going Rock of Ages.
Okay. I guess I'm just like I had older siblings that like it was a Saturday, like you're washing the car out on the driveway, and Def Leppard's "I'm high, stick ass sweet."
Let's get rocked. Stereotypical 80s hair band.
Of course. So yeah, I've got a soft spot for Def Leppard, man. Dave Aranda is the head coach of the Baylor Bears. Baylor, of course, coming to town this. Is it Saturday? It is Saturday. I just had like a mini brain fart of whether or not it was going to be a Friday game, but that's BYU. Baylor comes into town, and Dave Aranda has thoughts on facing off against Cam Rising. He's got thoughts too, by the way. Dave Aranda has turned into like a soft talker. He was never really that animated as a person, but I think that being a head coach in a Power 4 conference, JJ, sort of beats you down a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And you do not want, especially if you're Dave Aranda and everybody knows you're the guy that's on the hottest of hot seats in the conference this year. Here's what he said about facing Cam Rising and what type of a player he is.
He's equipped to go from a pass to a run. He's equipped to go from run here to run there. I think he knows rotation. He knows blitz tells. He knows front and how that's tied to the back end, if the front will tip off what the back end's going to be. And so just way smart. He is the captain of that ship, and so he gets them in the right spots, I guess would be the best way to say it. But then, I think running ability is still a factor, and I think his arm strength and his touch is really strong too.
Somebody needs to get a EMT in there. Somebody's choking.
Did somebody die in the background?
Smoke inhalation.
Well, they may have fallen asleep with their mouths open in the back like this.
Is some staffer vaping in the back? What's going on there? Yeah. By the way, his voice is somewhere between intense and creepy, and I can't figure it out.
Hey, I'm Bronco Mendenhall,
yeah, I was
new
gonna
football
say.
coach, and I'm the newest Wahoo.
Wahoo. Yeah, it does have some Bronco vibes to it, Dave Aranda's voice for sure. Here's what he said about going up to Rice-Eccles Stadium because he knows it's not going to be a welcoming environment for them.
I don't know if it's confidence. I think it's more of, we got something to prove. I think that we got a bunch of guys that want to win and want to achieve and want to be that team. And we know that the team we're playing is kind of that team. And so we have to be able to show up with our best. I think we know if we don't, all the stuff that comes with that. And so the ability to be on that stage and do our best, I think everyone's got their eyes set on that.
The more I hear it, the more the whispering gets more intense for me.
We need to play a game tomorrow called, is it Dave Aranda or Will Forte?
Oh, my gosh. All right, here's what else he said. He talked about with the offense. Now, of course, Dave Aranda's calling card are his defensive calls, and he still calls the defense, by the way, for Baylor.
Yes, he does.
Here's what he said about the offense, because they scored 45 points against Tarleton State, but it was Tarleton State.
Yeah, there's a lot more. I mean, and I know, this is true for everybody. And so this is true for the team that we're about to play. I mean, there's things that you show that your only intention of showing is to hide a tendency, or your only reason for showing is to lead astray from kind of this trail to get them on some other trail, or to build a trap for the other side of it. So there's a bunch of that going on. I think all that goes on until the wins and losses pile up, and then you kind of you take what you get from there. But in the beginning,
I think he fell asleep himself there. Didn't wrap up his thought. But
he'd be a great DJ for a smooth jazz station.
You should.
Yeah.
You should. That's what we should do. Every time we have Dave Aranda on, we play a little bit of.
This is NPR. And I'm Dave Aranda.
We play the song. Play Songbird underneath. Oh yeah, here we go. You gotta get. Okay, so turn it up, and then let's get some Dave Aranda in the background. I want the performing on the road at the Rice Cycle Stadium, where he was especially aggressively energetic.
I don't know if it's confidence. I think it's more of, we got something to prove. I think that we got a bunch of guys that want to win and want to achieve and want to be that team. And we know that the team we're playing is kind of that team. And so we have to be able to show up with our best. I think we know if we don't, all the stuff that comes with that. And so the ability to be on that stage and do our best, I think everyone's got their eyes set on that.
Traffic and weather coming your way in about 10 minutes. Dave Aranda here. Favorite DJ of the softest hits.
Dave Aranda here on Smooth Jazz 107.5.
Why does it sound too good?
Continuous soft hits from the 70s, 80s, and today.
It's just too right on. I don't know if it's confidence or maybe it's this smooth jazz. But I think we got a chance against this team we're playing this weekend. Did you notice that too, by the way? No mention of Utah.
My only regret about Saturday is we're not having Rice Eccles Stadium after dark. That'd be nice.
Oh, my gosh.
Just you and I, Utah. Baylor and Utah.
Do you think what happens is these coaches are paid so much money, the pressure is so much on them that they turn into like Zen masters. They they go full on into this mode of being like, that's just, you heard one of the clips that we heard earlier when we were going through all this was him talking about, I used to get so wrapped up in like the little things, and now I'm like, I freed my mind, man. I don't have time for all that as a head coach. I've allowed myself to move on from mistakes. You can win tickets to Kenny G and Kenny Loggins this weekend. Win Ticket Wednesday on the station that Dave Aranda's the DJ on. Can't wait to be there.
This week is we have Kenny Loggins at USANA Amphitheater.
Oh my gosh, quit it. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. When we do, the things that Florida State, or the things that lasted longer than Florida State in the top 25. All right, and next hour we've come up with a consensus, and I think we need to do this every week. By the way, the consensus bowl predictions. Now that we're into week 2. This is week 2, right? Some teams have already played 2 games. But yeah, this is week 2. Entering week 2, we have some version of way too early and some version of bowl projections. We'll talk about them. We'll have a consensus mock coming up next right here, 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Cougars hit the road for a huge matchup against SMU. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen. Thanks for being with us on the program, everybody. Let me see here. Yeah, we got lots going on. Next hour, by the way, coming up in just about 10 minutes, we're going to go over the consensus bowl projections in week 4 or week 3. Yeah! Week 2? Week 3.
Never too early.
Week 2, sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself because week 4, you could have all sorts of different. I want to know if somebody's already put BYU into a bowl game after 1 week and 1 performance from Jake Retzlaff. I think BYU should just get a nod for a possible bowl game just by naming a starting quarterback. That was good enough. That was
a
big
start.
enough. So we'll get to that. Let me see here. Florida State. All right. By the way, join Hans and Scotty on Thursday for their preview show every Thursday during football season, 1 to 3. It's all brought to you by the folks at Beehive Meals. Proud meal sponsor of Utah Athletics. All right, so they were ranked for 22 days this year. This is the Florida State Seminoles, by the way. Like I said, they are now 0-3 since they were snubbed of a college football playoff berth. The committee must just be laughing their way to the bank on this one because they were like, told you. Not only was Mike Norvell fake, they got worse, and they got so bad that they were a top 10 ranked team up until, 24 hours ago. So the brand new rankings have Florida State falling out of the ranks. Here are some things that lasted longer than the Seminoles being ranked this season. New Coke was on the market for 79 days. The Seminoles only, what did you say, 22? All right. Oh, no. Chris Humphreys, don't bring this
former
up.
Why
would you, former jazz man Chris Humphreys, why would you do this? Chris Humphreys filed for divorce again with Kim Kardashian. That marriage only lasted 72 days. Okay? If you remember, the Marlins won the 1997 World Series. Was Josh Beckett on that team, or was that the 2003 team?
That was the 2003. 97 was like Jeff Conine.
Oh, it was the crime dog. Fred McGriff was like the old guy on the team.
Was he? He was on the Marlins?
Maybe.
At some point. Okay, let's just go with it. Fred McGriff, World Series champion. I have no idea.
Hold on. I almost am certain, but maybe not. No, he was a Ray. No, wait, hold on.
Yeah, he was from
a Ray.
Tampa.
Yeah,
remember?
You're right. Okay.
Yeah, Charles Johnson, Bobby Bonilla, Edgar Renteria.
Bobby Bonilla.
Gary Sheffield, Devon White.
It was Gary Sheffield.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Gary Sheffield. Both very aggressive swing
Craig Counsell,
stances.
now the Cubs manager.
Craig Counsell, always also a terrible stance.
Darren
in the
Dalton,
box.
rest in peace.
So that only lasted 60 days, by the way, before they started selling all those players off. So they won they won the World Series and then immediately got rid of all these dudes. But Bobby Bonilla, Gary Sheffield, man.
That's why they won. They were good.
But they could not afford them for more than 10 minutes.
Nope.
So there you go.
By the way, preseason polls are dumb.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No, because we're about to get into some.
You just saw proof of it. Why is Florida State ranked 10th in the country?
Okay. No,
what are we
I get
basing
it.
that on?
No, I know. And Michigan, by the way, also the next one to fall.
They are next. Michigan's not good. And everyone's going to find out. And everyone's going to be shocked. I can't believe Michigan lost to USC.
So who are the teams that aren't getting respect that aren't in the polls then?
SMU's one of them. SMU should be ranked.
Really?
I think they're good.
They are 2-0.
Well, they were bringing back a lot of players from a team that won the...
barely beat Nevada, and
they won the American last year.
They
win 10, 11 games?
Tufts? Who did they play?
Tufts. Which directional school in Texas did they beat this week?
Is it Wesleyan something rather?
Some team with Christian in it.
I was going to say,
some church school in
East
Texas?
Yeah, I was going to say, some Baptist school.
No idea. So who should be ranked right now that isn't, is what you're asking? How about
Memphis?
Memphis?
HCU, I don't know.
Who is it? VH?
Houston Christian University, maybe?
Oh, no, it is. HCU is Houston Christian.
Yeah, there
yes. 57-3, right? Something like that? Or no?
59-7.
59-7.
Who's not ranked right now that should be?
That's hard because that's why you go, well, preseason polls are dumb.
but somebody's got to occupy those spots. It's actually harder. Don't just say.
Well, if you didn't have a poll until week 5, nobody would have to occupy a spot because the spot wouldn't exist.
Okay, Bronco. Listen, I think it'd be better if we just never had polls. We just let the young men lead their lives as being leaders of their communities. Get out of here. I'm not. Listen.
Now that we have a 12-team college football playoff, why do we need polls?
Because it's one of the more important marketing ploys that they use in the sport that you and I cover. Sacrilege, JJ. Absolute sacrilege. We need way too early polls.
Am I thinking too outside the box here? Am I ruffling some feathers here?
No, you're not ruffling feathers. You're not using your brain. All right? And that disappoints me because you know very well that the only way for us to get through the offseason is to have fake polls. All right? But again,
I love way too early stuff.
But again, okay, so who are the teams who are receiving votes this week?
Texas A&M.
Okay.
Boston College.
Okay.
Boise State.
Okay.
Iowa State.
I don't hate Boise State. Boise State's not ranked in the top 25 at all.
No.
Okay.
Should they be?
Vanderbilt. We didn't give them the respect that the Commodores needed.
Vandy's not top 25. Memphis. Nebraska.
Well, Nebraska.
I mentioned SMU. Washington is not ranked. Liberty. Wisconsin is not ranked.
Liberty is a team that, by the way, everybody's like, they're supposed to be there. It's
Liberty,
either them or Boise State that are going to go to the group of 5. Huh?
Liberty Bibbity.
Come on, Emu. All right. Travis Kelce.
Jeremy's had enough comedy for today. Let's
get out of here.
I love this stuff. We got to go.
We do have to go. We've got stuff to do.
All right, Germany.
Liberty
Bibbity.
Liberty Bibbity, Germany. We're going to take the break. We'll come back. We've got more to go. Yes, when we return, we will have our bowl projections for week 2. Stay here, 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? It's a Saturday matinee battle for the Utes as they welcome in Baylor to Rice-Eccles Stadium. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for riding along with us here. Stay safe out there. We don't have windows in our studio. Well, we do, but they just look at Jeremy.
That's our daily sunshine.
we look through the glass, and then we say, "Is the weather okay outside?" But JJ just informed me it looks nasty out there.
At least here in downtown Salt Lake, it is windy and coming down. So.
Yeah, well,
be safe out there.
You had those severe thunderstorm warnings, etc. So stay safe out there. All right. In the meantime, JJ, our program is brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, nutritious boost. Let's kick off this hour with the cut. We're going to jump in here. We're going to get to your bowl projections week 2 because it's never too early to keep those bowls projected. So let's get to it. It's the cut.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I'll project your bowl. Yeah, got him. Let me see here, JJ. Of all the things that you can do when it comes to, by the way, in ESPN's most recent projections and rankings after week 1, because I think that we did this a couple of weeks ago, and then these same two guys, Kyle Bonneger and Mark Schlebach, they go through and they kind of just give their guesses as to where these teams are going to be, okay? So I don't know if anything changed from week to week, but Memphis is getting a lot of pub now because they're playing pretty well, hot off the presses. Boise State, of course, is still a darling for a lot of these teams. So they have a lot of projections that kind of are along the lines of what you might think. I think that Kyle Bonneger, has famously and has kept with
Arizona is the number 11 seed. And then I want to say that, and then I think recently, Mark Schlabach actually put Kansas. Did you see that? He put Kansas as his 11 seed. So
that's not as crazy as you think.
I know, but initially Bonagura was the only one that had two Big 10 teams or Big 12 teams in the college football playoff. And now Schlabach got on board. And I think it has as much to do with Kansas or Kansas State or Arizona or Oklahoma State being decent, but it also has to do with the fact that the ACC is a freaking mess right now. The top of the ACC was supposed to be this 1A, 1B with like a Florida State at 1A, maybe Miami 1B. People thought that Virginia Tech was going to be a dark horse. People thought NC State was going to be pretty good. Who else did we get? Clemson, everybody just assumed was going to be right there too. So now you have a Clemson team that got absolutely waxed by Georgia. Now it was Georgia. You have a Florida State team that is now 0-2 on the season and is now out of the rankings. And frankly, nowhere near any of this because you're not going to be anywhere near the ACC championship game. But because the ACC is particularly weak right now, it will likely just get one bid if things kind of go along this line. Isn't that what we're assuming?
Right now, Miami's the highest ranked ACC team at number 12, right behind the Utes.
And
who are number 11.
And by the way,
and you got to go all the way down to 22 to find Louisville, followed by Georgia Tech, NC State, and Clemson. So somehow, some way, by some miracle, the AP poll still has 5 ACC teams in it.
Yeah,
but
not
4
for
of the
long.
5 are 22 and below.
Yeah, and we don't even consider Louisville a threat because I don't think they're going to. Bottom line is this. The ACC is weaker than we thought, and that is good for the Big 12 because there will be a spot for a second team if the ACC can't get their crap together. And if the Big 12 has a good enough season for Kansas, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, or anybody else.
Or Arizona
to sneak in and play Utah in that Big 12 championship game, maybe lose, which is what they both have it going on with. Both of them have Ole Miss and Notre Dame facing off against one another in that 10-7 matchup. I would love to see Ole Miss go to Notre Dame because I would almost guarantee a victory for Lane Kiffin and his guys.
No doubt.
Okay? Michigan is somehow miraculously on Kyle Bonagura's list to be the number 9 seed playing at number 8 Oregon. So there are their projections, but more importantly, the games that they have everybody playing in are let me see here. Oh, so the college football. So they would have Utah playing Texas. Both of them have, by the way, whoever plays Utah winning in that first round. Did you notice this?
Yes.
So Schlabach has Alabama beating Utah, the number 5 seeded Alabama Crimson Tide beating number 4 Utah. And then Bonagura's got Texas, who's 6th in this list, beating the number 3 Utes. I don't know if I agree with that totally, but at the same time, Utah is a 3 seed. That is beyond our wildest imagination.
Well, if you get to that point where you're a 3 seed and you're in the quarterfinals against one of those teams, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, but you've gotten to the point now where Kyle Whittingham has gone and he's won 2 Pac-12 championship games and then has come up short in the biggest bowl game in the team's history. The Rose Bowl appearances are bigger than the other games, right? Or do you think that the Sugar Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl?
Oh, the Prestige or the Rose Bowl were bigger, even though the Utes won the other 2.
There's a power conference.
The Sugar Bowl win over Alabama is significant.
Program history, probably the biggest one. But when it comes down to it, you're talking about to get in the Rose Bowl, you had to be a Power 5 conference champion, which they did 2 years in a row. And so that's what you had to show for it. So now the next thing you have to show is getting to that next level of actually winning it. Okay. BYU on ESPN's projected bowl list. Let me just quickly.
Not finding it.
It's early. Week 2. Cougs only 1-0. All right.
Did they not watch the game?
Did they not see Jake Retzlaff and what he did? He won the starting job. I think that just by naming a starter, they should put him on there. Like I said,
They made it. Now, on the CBS poll, the Utes are a 3 seed. In the CBS poll, no BYU projected to a bowl game. By the way, the Big 12 has a lot of affiliations in the bowls. You can't put them in for some of these other games. It's pretty crazy to see what bowls they're not making if they like currently. Because as it is, Iowa State's going to play Tennessee in the Texas Bowl, according to CBS Sports. West Virginia would be going to the Independence Bowl against Oregon State. You know what? JJ, they can have it.
Yeah.
You can have
Shreveport.
You can have the Independence Bowl. All right, we'll let you have that. The Alamo Bowl, which is one of the higher affiliated bowls that the Big 12 has, is a Kansas and USC matchup, according to CBS Sports. But then you've got the Pop-Tarts Bowl that's also a Big 12 affiliation. They've got SMU and Oklahoma State in that game. The Liberty Bowl is TCU Oklahoma, according to this one. The Armed Forces Bowl is UCF and UTSA. They even have the Guaranteed Rate Bowl as hosting Texas Tech and Indiana. Okay? So when you talk about teams that you think from the conference who are going to be bowl eligible, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, plus the other 2 that were in the conference championship game. And according to this, further up, so they'd have 9 teams qualifying for bowl games. 2 of them would be in the college football playoff. You agree with that?
None of them BYU.
None of them BYU. Is that a slight? Because right now,
yeah, and BYU fans
and
BYU players listening and coaches should be like, you know what? We're going to go show them.
So just go through the top list. Let's just say you have to be top 9 to go to those 9 bowls, to those 9 bowl bids.
Yeah.
BYU is in that 8-9 range in a lot of these power rankings, including the one that Mitch Harper and I did this week.
Let me see, where do we put them right now?
I think that they are right there on the cusp. They would be in that conversation. They could be a team that makes bowl eligibility happen.
Would BYU beat Houston?
Yes.
Would BYU beat Texas Tech?
Yes.
Okay. Colorado?
Yes.
Cincinnati?
Yes.
Baylor?
I think so.
Arizona State?
Yes.
They're there then.
That's 9.
That's it.
Okay. After
get
1 week.
6 and 6 and
After
get
1
ninth.
week, we've already done it.
And I think 6 and 6 would put you right at 9th in the Big 12, if that's where you get. Beat SMU and you can start thinking bigger.
The Action Network. That's Brett McMurphy's rag, right?
Yeah, we know what action means. Jeremy knows all about the Action Network.
Excuse you?
It's the first tab on his browser.
Pretty much.
They have the Utes as a 4 seed.
It's a betting site, people.
Athlon has the Utes as a 4 seed. College Football News has the Utes as a 3 seed. USA Today has the Utes as a 4 seed. None of these bowl projections currently have snuck BYU into the bowl picture.
I haven't seen Utah State either.
I will say that a win over SMU this weekend, I bet you would see BYU on every one of these lists next week. Am I wrong?
That would change everything. That's why I keep talking about this game as being a real barometer for BYU.
It's a big one.
You go to Dallas on a Friday night on a short week, and you beat an SMU team that has a lot of respect right now, that is now a Power 4 team and program. And all this disrespect you're feeling and all the doubts and all that kind of stuff and wondering how good your team is, all that evaporates because you know you're good. It'll validate the program as currently constituted. And you can move forward and you can start having bigger goals this year. You beat SMU, you're going to beat Wyoming. They're a dumpster fire up there in Laramie right now, so that's 3 wins.
Somehow they're projected in some of these.
Yeah.
So what now?
Cowboys, yeah. ESPN.
Wyoming is, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's a little easier in the Mountain West, to be quite honest, but you win those first 3 games. Yeah, the tough one out of the gate, Kansas State in conference play, but all of a sudden some of these conference games aren't as difficult as they look.
Well, let me tell you how it's changed.
If you're 3-0 and with a win over SMU on the road.
Let me tell you how it's changed a little bit.
And winning in Laramie is not easy either.
So the computers even get affected by 1 week of play, okay? The FPI for ESPN, here's what the adjustments have been made from. The SMU game, BYU is considered a 21.3% favorite.
They're up from the original 19% favorite. The Wyoming game, they've gone up to a 79.2% win percentage chance, up from 60%. So 20%, that thing swung just based off of how badly Wyoming performed. They have a better shot against Kansas State, according to this. They have a better shot against Baylor from week to week now. They have a better shot against Arizona, Oklahoma State. The only ones that went down are UCF. They actually have, according to this, a more difficult task to beat UCF. The Utah game actually went down just 1 percentage point. The computers felt like Utah performed well enough to be able to get that. Kansas, that game is up from 27% to 30%. So basically their odds have improved in every game. Arizona State, though, it did go down from 42%. They're now, so BYU's not favored in the Arizona State game, by the way. What's going on with ESPN's FPI?
It's in Tempe, right?
Yes.
Yeah, well, if you watched week one, I don't know what to think of the win over Wyoming.
Yeah.
Because they absolutely manhandled the Cowboys. They crushed them. I haven't seen an Arizona State team that dominant. I don't care what the opponent is. They've stunk for the last couple of years. And so to do that was impressive. Shows me that there's progress with that program. So maybe that is a game on BYU's schedule that you chalked up as a win earlier that all of a sudden flips the other way. But we don't know everything going into a season. That's the fun of it.
Yeah.
It's so fun to see a team that we thought was going to stink like Arizona State maybe turn things around a little bit. Maybe all of a sudden that game you thought was not a game that was going to be that interesting. Suddenly a BYU Arizona State game takes on a whole new life. That's exciting.
Yeah.
The Big 12 would be better if Arizona State gets back to being what they're capable of being.
So who's BYU avoiding on the schedule? Colorado, TCU.
Yeah, they're grateful for that.
And I even think the Colorado game, I mean, if you're going to swap a game in there, the good news is they're playing Arizona State and Houston. The bad news is they play Kansas,
They
Kansas
play the top
State,
5 contenders.
Utah, Arizona, and Oklahoma State. Every one of the teams that is supposed to be way better than they are, they're playing every one of them. Now,
the only really good team I think they're missing is Iowa State.
They get Kansas State at home. I think they get all of them at home except for Utah, right?
Yes,
Arizona.
That's correct.
Kansas.
But that UCF game on the road is going to be really tough.
Yeah, that one's getting
That's
more
a week
messy.
after Oklahoma
That
State.
one's getting more messy week by week because Gus Malzahn's got something up his sleeve, man. KJ Jefferson's not even the class of that team anymore. But you know what he is? He's just managing the game, make sure they get the ball in the hands of RJ Harvey. You know?
BYU was, 113th or 12th in run defense last year? You got to be better this year because the running backs in this league are awesome.
Yep.
Week in and week out.
All right, let's take a break. We'll see how that changes. Honestly, they beat SMU this week. They'll be in every one of these. I bet they'll be in every one of these predictors.
That will change their season trajectory.
That they'll be bowl eligible. They'll have them all. Everybody will have BYU bowl eligible because they beat SMU. Then the odds of them being able to beat Wyoming up at Laramie to be 3-0 going into your first conference week play. That's where it's at now because immediately they have to play Kansas State and Baylor, Arizona, Oklahoma State, UCF, Utah, Kansas, Arizona State, Houston. They basically that gauntlet of Arizona, Oklahoma State, UCF, Utah, and Kansas is an absolute killer stretch. So can you survive that? Can you make sure and steal 1 or 2 wins out of there? Because if you do, then you're going to be bowl eligible for sure. All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We got more to go. When we do, we got our it's our daily dose of NFL. The NFL Blitz coming right up around the corner. Our program, as always, brought to you in part by the folks at the Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram. Visit those Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. Great service starts with know-how, and nobody knows like Doug. We'll come back. More to go right after this 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
All All the latest news and notes from the league and the locals in the NFL. JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You know what that music means. We're talking some NFL.
Are you getting ready for Friday? Is that what that was?
Gotta be.
Working on your Portuguese?
Portuguese. Yeah, listen. It's way better to talk about this than my 69-69 Seattle Mariners team. Not going to be in the playoffs.
Not good, not bad.
Nice.
Just there.
That
should be their motto when they're selling tickets. The Seattle Mariners, we're here.
They're like, Seattle Mariners, you like garlic fries? We'll sell those to you. You can get some king salmon with some you can get some all sorts of gourmet stuff at T-Mobile Ballpark. But I'm telling you, the Seattle Mariners are a struggle. On the struggle bus. But yes, you go that whole season, you almost wish you'd lost 120 games because it's just like, what'd you guys do that year? We won the exact amount of games as we lost.
We came painfully short of making the postseason.
Every game
in a weak division
was literally a coin toss. 50-50 shot, everybody. All right. Brandon Ayuk did something that...
Hey.
Wait, what?
You skipped the first story. You skipped the first story.
I was trying to...
We got to go in order here.
Fine. First up on NFL Blitz today. Patrick Mahomes says that Taylor Swift has started drawing up plays. Oh, boy. For this.
No, read it out loud. Read it with conviction.
Patrick Mahomes says his best friend's girlfriend, Taylor Swift, has started drawing up really effective plays for the Chiefs offense. Back to you.
That's better, traditional media. Stop slandering
in an interview
the
with
goddess that is Taylor Swift.
In an interview with NBC Sports' Chris Sims, Patrick Mahomes said, "Oh yeah, she's drawing up plays, man." The 66-year-old Andy Reid said, yeah, one of the coolest plays I've ever seen in the NFL was given to him by a janitor back in the day when he was an assistant for the Green Bay Packers. So, janitors, pop stars, bring me all your plays. You can't say that kind of stuff because then you really do make it look like your job isn't that anybody could do your job.
Put Taylor Swift on a headset. Put her in the box.
Right, but she's...
Let her call the plays.
Right, and make your defensive coordinator the janitor.
Andy.
Put your money where your mouth is, Andy Reid.
Do it.
Do it. Yes. I don't know.
Seriously.
He did say...
She's drawing up plays. Taylor Swift.
Look, they get plays from...
drawing up plays.
I know. They get plays from weird places. Do you remember Andy Reid famously, 5 years ago, pulled They got a play from the 1948 Rose Bowl that USC used. Yeah. Did they even have video footage of it, or was it just written on a bomber jacket or something? Jeez, yeah, it was on a painting. They used a play in the 1948 Rose Bowl against that Michigan used against USC. Excuse me.
Well, they did Ring Around the Rosie last year. That worked.
Yeah, it did.
Super Bowl champions. Ran a play called Ring Around the Rosie.
Listen to what they say. Nothing's really out of bounds when it comes to play calling, said Brad Childress. That's a great thing about Andy. If it's a good idea and it fits us and it's got merit, then we'll put it in. Also, if somebody comes up to you and goes, hey, Taylor Swift had an idea, can she tell you about it? Everybody wants to say, absolutely not. She's not on this team. She's a freaking pop star. Let's keep her in her lane. Instead, it's like, yeah, sure. Yeah. Anything for you, Taylor. Oh. Anyway.
It's like fantasy football camp for
I want to know
celebrities.
what Rusty Keys thinks about it. Like, Taylor Swift calling plays.
Well, the Chiefs are arrogant enough to think that they can win a Super Bowl with Taylor Swift as their offensive coordinator.
Oh, my gosh. That's what it would turn into.
They're that much better than the rest of the league.
But see, that's where the lore comes from. It's just like, what's crazy is they asked her to get in the booth with the headset on that year because one of her plays worked. She's an offensive genius. Get out of here. Just get out of here with all that.
Hey, she does have a creative mind. So
I don't know how, but the 49ers are able to pay Trent Williams now, too.
where are they getting all this cap space?
So here's what happened. Trent Williams holding out of camp. $50,000 a day, by the way, when you do that.
Ooh.
Not bad. But he can afford it. You know why? He just got a new deal that includes $48 million in fully guaranteed money for the offensive lineman, Pro Bowler, All-Pro. Trent Williams is like, everybody else is holding out. I want to too. So the value is $5 million more than what he was originally going to make in this first deal. That's what he sat out for, was $5 extra million on this deal. Now, he also sat out for the guaranteed money that he gets up. A lot of that comes up front. And that's how they're able to kind of save cap space.
His guaranteed money was about to run out
Yeah.
moving forward, which means he could easily be cut for nothing. So
Sure.
that's the motivation.
By the way,
Long-term money.
Did you see that Brandon Ayuk actually came out to the media and was like, yeah, I think I probably was being a little bit too hard on the Niners. That's part of the negotiating tactic. My goodness. John Lynch must see that and just roll his eyes and be like, I can't believe that we're doing this.
That's a Super Bowl or bust team.
But Trent Williams said in an interview, though, that ending the holdout, part of it was that the Ricky Pearsall news of him getting shot through the chest in San Francisco kind of made everybody wake up on the team a little bit and be like, hey, it's like you think about the scare that Jay Hill had over this last weekend. Everybody started to consider everything else outside of just their own little tiny world. And he said, you know what? Life is a little bit more important than just this. Trent Williams actually said that motivated him to end his contract holdout. I was like, hey, life is too short. We got to get going here. Pay me my money and let's get going. The Vikings, in an interview where they lied to the media, said they are, quote, very excited for what Sam Darnold can bring as the quarterback to the team. Sam Darnold is the only quarterback you have brought to the team, right? I don't even know who's, because after they cut Jaron Hall, the Seahawks are like, thank you very much.
Nick Mullins is your backup. Good luck with that.
Jeez. Gosh, is this the all 49ers news right here, Jeremy? Is that what's going on?
You know what?
Christian McCaffrey has practiced for the first time since training that calf in early August. I think we're going to be okay. Hey, fantasy football fans.
Why do you think it's out there?
I think you're going to be okay. I know, it's 1,000% fantasy football stuff, right?
Make sure you take Christian McCaffrey in the first round. He's going to be fine.
We did our draft a couple weeks ago at my house.
Good for you.
Well, I don't do any of it. I auto-drafted everything, basically. My 15-year-old is going to win that whole thing. Because he pays I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. The irony of our job is that I don't have time for fantasy football. Right?
Yeah.
Do you have time for fantasy football? I don't.
I don't even have time to eat.
Salt Lake City Fat Loss. SaltLakeCityFatLoss.com.
I tell people I lost all this weight on Salt Lake City Fat Loss. It's just I'm too busy to eat food.
I don't have time for it.
I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Come on, I'm joking.
Give me that.
Give me that cheeseburger. I should have ordered that. The Chiefs tight end, Travis Kelce, says he has no plans for resting or playing fewer snaps just because he's a little bit older. Everybody's saying, hey, don't you want to be fresh for those games later in the year? This is a guy who, how many catches did he have last year? He had 950 receiving yards.
He was still the best tight end.
It was one of his best years of his entire career, and he was considered kind of getting old. How old is too old for Travis Kelce? Is he 34? 33? How old is too old? Everybody says he needs
34.
34. Okay. That is coming up on it, right? If you're a tight end age, that's getting up there.
For sure.
But I think that we all recognize, yeah, but the clock ticks differently in Kansas City, right? They play call so well, and they make sure that these guys are fresh, man. They know what these guys can take. So there you go. How are your Broncos looking? Did they figure out if
they're
Zach
looking
Wilson's
like your
the guy?
Seattle Mariners?
Come on. You don't know, but listen, it's great.
They're not good.
You guys have.
They're not bad.
But they can. You guys have an odd number of games, so that they'll at least have a losing record or a winning record. Actually, that's not true. They could go.
What if they get that tie?
8-8 with a tie.
And knowing, I don't know. There's hope and promise with Bo Nix at quarterback, but then I have to remind myself that he is a rookie.
Oh yeah. Don't let that little detail get in the way of people.
And the
really
draft,
over
the lack of draft picks has not helped them stock up on skill position players.
Over insisting that they're going to be good this year. No, this is our year. Might not. Maybe they don't win the division this year, but they're going to be darn close.
Now look out, Chiefs. The Broncos are coming. Let's ride.
Let's ride. You went Ted Koppel on Let's Ride. I'm
Ted Koppel with breaking news.
Let's
the
ride.
Denver Broncos suck.
I will say that I watched the outtakes of Russell Wilson when he went through and did like 50 Let's Rides.
Oh no!
When they were shooting it. So, have you guys ever seen that one?
No.
But just the one where he gets on there and goes, Broncos country, let's ride. He sounds out of breath. So that was one of like 60 that he did in a row. Broncos country,
Thank you guys. Broncos country.
He made them do 60 takes.
He's doing it. He's dancing
Russell
around.
Wilson is such a perfectionist.
He's dancing around, acting like he's got to pee in his pants, and he's got a ball, and he's like, Broncos country, let's ride? Question mark? Broncos country, let's ride. Broncos country, let's ride. Like he did all these different reads on Broncos country, let's ride. And it will live out there now in infamy. Please, can we find that?
Is there one with high knees?
Broncos country. Did he sing it? Broncos country, let's ride. I want the full version of, because that will never leave. That will never leave the internet. Remember when Beyonce was like, remove all of these pictures from the internet of me that I don't like. And everyone's like, that's not how it works. All right, we'll take a break. Is this a Fila commercial? Are they back? Is Fila back?
It must be. That's exactly what it is.
Speaking of rich kids from the 90s, I'm going to go get some...
Playing tennis on grass.
I'm going to get some Fila gear. All right?
That's quite a tangent.
All right, we'll take the break. We'll come back. We've got more to go. We have our best and worst next. Stay right here with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And now, a look at traffic from the KSL Traffic Center.
Been a little rough out there in the rain, and this go around.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
Okay, everybody. Welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us, everybody. JJ, thanks for hanging out with me all show long.
It's been a pleasure. Will you have me back tomorrow?
You tell me, bro. You come back tomorrow? We do this again? It's been
a pleasure to be a guest here on JJ and Alex.
You have a contract. You have to be here.
Okay.
All right.
Then I'll be here.
Thank you. Best and worst of the weekend. Did you? Oh, okay. We snuck in a Utah State Aggies women's soccer story, huh? Into the best.
What, are you upset about this?
No, I love it. It's great. Utah State.
It is the best.
Off of the big win over BYU
and Utah
over the past week,
and they beat Texas Tech too.
Has now moved up to number 11,
Big 12 champs,
to number 11 in the national polls. Didn't Diana Sabo come on and say, "Look, we're charging people to get into games now. That's how big of a deal it is."
Yes, they've reached that point now where they're
charging people to get into games. 118 points in the poll, up from last week's 47. People are giving that respect to Utah State. Maybe they're the new power in the state. You knew BYU was going to be a little bit down this year compared to years past, but man, is BYU the Florida State of this year's?
BYU is the Florida State of women's soccer this year.
Really?
They just fell out of the top 25 after some losses. After they lost to Utah State at home. BYU has been to 2 college cups in the last 3 years, which is the Final Four in women's soccer.
Well, and they went. I do remember when they lost to, by the way, Florida State, right? In the Natty 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I lost on a shootout. I remember because I was on vacation and I watched it like at 1 a.m.
There you go.
I'm like up late. My wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm all, shh. It's a national championship.
Soccer is growing in the state. We have we have RSL, we have the Royals, and the college soccer here is really good. Utah State's 11th in the country. BYU's been a national power. Utah is very competitive in the Big 12, and Utah Valley is receiving votes this week. So there you go. A little love for college soccer in the state, which is kicking butt right now.
The Chicago White Sox are an especially bad team. This is the worst of the day. Although because I'm one of those people, it's kind of my best too. I love stories like this. I don't hate the Chicago White Sox. Okay, I don't know a lot of people who like the Chicago White Sox. Well, I guess Ben Anderson's a big White Sox guy, right? It's ridiculous. So the White Sox have just lost their 20th game in a row. They already lost like 27 at one point this year, didn't they?
Yeah, they've had a rough year.
Well, it's not just a rough year. It's historically bad. They've lost 108 games this season. They have 23 games left. The worst team in the history of Major League Baseball lost 120 games. Are we going to be able to see the worst team in baseball this year? Grady Sizemore, by the way, their interim manager, taking over after their other manager was fired after the 27-game losing streak. She's going to have to start over. She's going to have to purge everybody, JJ. But here's the thing, though, is that we get this in sports. You have your Detroit Pistons from this last year. You get your Chicago or your Detroit Lions and your Cleveland Browns. Right.
Winless teams, yeah.
Winless teams. So is it worse to be winless or lose 125?
San Jose Sharks in hockey were historically bad
abysmal.
This year.
It happens, right? It happens. But when it happens in baseball, like we're like extra grumpy about it.
Because it's a 162-game season, and their fans have to be reminded of it every single day.
You got to wear that paper bag over the head, man.
They only need 13 losses in their last 23 games. So they'd have to do better than 10-13 to not break the record.
That's not happening.
And that is definitely not happening because that team's not good enough to do that. So you're going to have a new record broken by the Chicago White Sox as the worst team in Major League Baseball history.
Good for them. Good for you. Oh, good for you. All right. Let's take the break here for this hour. We'll come back. We've got more to go. You don't want to miss any of it. By the way, our best and worst brought to you by an incredible selection of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram. Visit the Doug Smith family of dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. Great service starts with know-how, and nobody knows like Doug. We'll come back. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Aggies hit the road to Southern California for a battle against USC. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back.
We're bad human beings.
Well, it's just the conversations. No, it's not. We're bad.
Yeah,
come on.
I'll speak for myself. I'm just not a very good human being.
What we've become is cynical sports guys, right? We've become the thing that we told ourselves we wouldn't become, JJ.
Maybe I'm just tired. I don't know.
Oh, that for sure. So, interestingly enough, by the way, final segment of the program. Interestingly enough, Tom Brady, so on a podcast, the Goat Farm Sports podcast.
We all have links to that.
No,
one.
I know. I have to remind you. I don't have to remind you to refresh
what
it. And
is
you can
that?
Listen to it. I don't know. Goat Farm Sports.
The Goat Farms podcast?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What are we doing with that?
Well, you're talking to former NFL players. And Sean Murphy-Bunting, who played with Tom Brady at his last stint at the Buccaneers, went on the show and he actually revealed something that was quite interesting. And I don't look at it and think that it's a bad thing at all. But here's what he described about Tom Brady in a unique situation that he had in the locker room.
Tom used to just chill. Tom was in his own world sometimes. Like, there would be a locker next to Tom, so he had two. And the locker next to him, that's where you put all the stuff that you need him to sign. And so
That's love.
Yeah, and so you put it in there. You put it in there, and then
that's a fun
at the end of the day, Tom usually would just, you know what I mean? So it would be signed.
It was kind of understood, like, all right, so you the GOAT, bro. Sign us from
he knew, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that's how good of a teammate he was. Like, obviously, you know what I mean? If you were in that position, I'm in that position, you get a little like, I don't feel like doing all this today, but I mean, it was never a complaint from him, bro. Every time somebody needed something from him, signed ball, signed jersey, picture, like whatever, he was doing it. I've only seen that with Tom. Literally, it was Tom's locker, and then it was Tom's locker.
P.O. box.
Tom's P.O. box.
That's pretty cool. I agree with him. I mean, one, it's a crazy thing to think that your superstar status gets to so much that even your friends and your teammates are like, "Hey, man, will you sign this jersey for my son?" You have to have a whole locker next to you, and you just say, "Hey, put it in there." Do you think he signed every one of them, or do you think when the lights went out,
100%.
a friend came in and signed them for him?
And I give Tom Brady credit. I mean, he's the most famous athlete in the planet, at least in our world.
He could have said
here
no.
in the United States.
He could have said no.
Imagine the amount of demand that there is for his time and for his attention.
For sure.
And we saw LeBron got in trouble about a month ago because some kid ran up to him. I think it was around the Olympics or afterwards, to have him sign something, and he basically said,
"No, thank you.
No
way,"
and walked away. And I think LeBron got a lot of crap for that. I mean, I've never, I don't. I
it's
respect
a weird game
LeBron's choice to do that. He's a human being,
and it's a weird thing because these guys, some of them have been totally jaded by the fact that these.
That's my point.
Because these autograph hunters, like, they ruin it for the actual
100%.
kids,
and then you just like you have. We all want some privacy. We all want our own space. So I respect that. I'm not criticizing LeBron, but what I'm doing is praising Tom Brady for his willingness to go above and beyond to do a lot of that stuff, and recognizing that in his position, when he could say no to everybody, he's willing to do a lot of stuff. I know he did something special for a young man. I feel bad I don't have the name in front of me right now, but that lives down in Highland, and that was battling cancer. And like, he made a video for him and invited him out to the game and everything. It was incredible. You think if that's one kid here in Utah, you imagine how many kids around the country he's helped?
Yep.
Like, the list goes on and on. So we put a lot of pressure on these athletes, an enormous amount of criticism on somebody like Tom Brady, but it feels like he steps up in a lot of ways that we don't even recognize. And to hear that from a former teammate, that he's got a locker just for memorabilia signing.
Could you imagine? He's just on the phone.
Teammates.
He's on the phone, and he's talking to. At that point, he was still talking to Giselle. And he's talking on the phone, and he's putting some socks on after the shower. And you walk over with like 5 jerseys on hangers. You go, "I'm just going to put these right here real quick."
Weird, right? But that's what they did, and he did it.
It's bonkers.
It's pretty cool that he was willing to do that.
We'll take the break here. For Jeremy, our producer, Jeremiah to my right, we'll be back again tomorrow for another edition of JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.